And we turn our attention to the pitch once again. Canada in action, inching closer to Copa America, and plenty of questions, and that's why we have Duncan with us. And just a new era right now for Canada. Jesse Marsch coming in. This will be his first tournament as head coach. What are the expectations for Canada?
You know, it's strange. We felt very optimistic going into the World Cup, and there's almost the same kind of feeling going into the Copa America right now. Before the World Cup in Qatar, we weren't really sure what the expectations were. You know, John Herdman did a great job bringing them to the World Cup. Tough group games. We didn't get out of the group. Now we're going to a similar kind of situation in the Copa America where we're cautiously optimistic. Tough group again for Canada with Argentina and Messi. But I think the expectations are, we're still building towards 2026. A good showing, some good results, some good football, and make the fans happy. And I think that's the expectations for Canada for this tournament.
Well, you touched on it right there, Duncan. Argentina, the first test, there is no small ramp leading into this game. The best of the best, World Cup champions. What a test for Canada.
Big test. And I like the way that it's going for Canada in terms of the way that they are approaching this tournament. Friendlies against the Dutch, friendlies against the French. In the past, it was always, you know, let's look at Mexico, let's look at what the US are doing, and let's compare against them in terms of performances, in terms of results. Now I think we're taking a step a bit higher, where with the World Cup coming up, we need to test ourselves against the very best. And against France, against the Dutch, and now against Argentina, that's the way that it should go, and that's the way you make your players more higher profile. That's the way you get fans to take stock of how good Canadian soccer is. And I think, you know, with the players that we've got, with the overseas experience that these players have, I'm optimistic that they can actually pull off an upset or two in this tournament. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be against Argentina, but if they can get small wins in every single game, you know, get a draw perhaps against Argentina, do well against Peru, you know, there'll be much more optimism than we are having right now.
Okay, we've got to talk about the roster a little bit, and no Calgary, immediate Calgary connections on the roster. Of course, a big Alberta connection, Alphonso Davies. He's from Edmonton, of course, and he's been named captain. But I want to touch on something else that's not a direct Calgary connection. It's Joel Waterman, who does play for Montreal of MLS. However, he started his professional journey as a member of Cavalry FC, an important part of that 2019 team that went to the CPL final. I just want you to touch on it a little bit, the importance for people to see the journey for a player like Joel, that he's now a member of the Canadian national team.
You know, the Canadian Premier League, it is a young league. It's never compared to the MLS and the Vancouver Whitecaps or the Montreals or the Toronto FCs of this world. But to see a player like Joel Waterman playing, making a step from Cavalry, making steps towards the MLS, and then playing for the Canadian national team. You know, you talk about Jesse Marsch being the head coach. Tommy Wilden Jr. at Cavalry FC was one of the names that people were speaking to at the Canadian soccer. To maybe be part of the setup, maybe be the head coach of the Canadian national team. So, you know, it's on the rise, the CPL. Cavalry FC went to Vancouver Whitecaps and beat them in their own backyard in BC Place. So, you know, it's growing, the fan base is growing. I think the soccer is getting a little bit better as well, year by year, as the league develops. And, you know, it's just great for Canadian soccer that you have multiple levels that is a pathway towards the national team. You have the CPL, you have players playing in the MLS, you have players playing overseas. All this will just combine into getting Canadian soccer up to a level where we can compete against the very best.
And the best they will face, Canada, Argentina, 6 p.m. Thursday from Atlanta, Georgia.